Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Program schedule, updated local news, sports, contests, and more. Visit today at supertalk1270.com.
It's time for Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. Talk of the Town, brought to you by Big Boy. Just get in line. It moves fast. Dakota Pharmacy and Dakota Natural Health Center. We're here to help you stay well. Trademark Realty, Peak Automotive and Service, and Silver Ranch.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bonkin. Jeb Williams joining us from North Dakota Game and Fish, kind of a year in review. We'll talk a little bit about some of these colder temperatures we've got coming up. Also, what's coming ahead in 2024. And we're going to talk a little bit about the late start of the ice fishing season. But year in review, so we've got all the seasons pretty much wrapped up. Pheasant season was kind of spotty this year. I didn't get out nearly as much as I wanted to because we had a litter of puppies. But everybody I talked to was kind of hit and miss. Waterfowl was good this year because of the warm weather late. That turned out really well. Deer season, people were actually concerned that it might be too warm to hang a deer. So kind of an interesting hunting season this fall.
No doubt about that, Steve. And Happy New Year, by the way, to you and all the listeners. And, I think this fall is probably a good example of a statement that, one of our staff made a number of years ago that I've never forgotten, and how right he was in talking about how in North Dakota, if you're one-dimensional, if you're somebody that just enjoys pheasant hunting or just enjoys waterfowl hunting or deer hunting, that there's going to be lots of ebbs and flows, right? But if you're somebody that appreciates the outdoor opportunities in a more holistic perspective, whether it's catching pike on Lake Wahi or any of our other lakes, and having the opportunity to go out and chase coyotes, you're always going to have something that's on the upper end. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now. From a deer perspective, obviously there's people out there that I think we're hoping they'd like to see more deer hunting opportunities. So would we as a department. But, you have to manage through the low number years as well. And that means, reducing opportunities, reducing tags, those types of things. And, but, talking about pheasants, that there's no doubt that some areas we had some really good pheasant numbers, and a lot of cases,
a lot of places you didn't think about, though. No, places that were like, wait a minute, I haven't hunted there because I haven't been pheasant there for a long time, and there's good bird numbers there. Yeah, and so and then Southwest a little soft. Yeah, there's no doubt. I think that's has been shifting the last number of years. There's been pretty significant habitat changes. In the Southwest, you go back 10 to 15 years, and that was where we had an awful lot of CRP in the state. And obviously, a part of the state, when you have those type of habitat conditions, you can produce a lot of pheasants in a short amount of time. Or now that trend has kind of gone away a little bit, and so some of the other parts of the state are actually doing better when it comes to pheasant hunting, more so than the Southwest. But there's still opportunities down there. We know that. And one of the things that was nice about this fall, though, is that people actually did have the entire fall to hunt. Last year we had the early November snow that arrived and never left. And I'm typically a late season guy. I don't get out until after Thanksgiving because I like frozen slough bottoms, and I'm a slough bottom guy. Exactly. I didn't get to hunt them again this year either. Yeah. So they were open. So that was a big difference. And anytime you have that, that just extends the opportunity out there. People enjoy that. It's late season hunting is, you maybe don't have the crowds. You just, there's lots of different things. All the row crops, are usually down. And so, there's some additional opportunity that's provided. And this fall was definitely that case compared to last year. And
people certainly, missed that opportunity last year.
A lot of bird numbers up, though, when you start talking about sharp-tailed grouse and Hungarian partridge. The resurgence for Huns has been phenomenal this year.
Yeah, and that's been a trend the last couple of years too. But I think we're going to even see. Well, we definitely will see. I was going to say I think we're going to see it, but we will definitely see additional harvests this year associated with our Hungarian partridge, simply because of the number one, the numbers, but then again, the extended fall, the extending hunting opportunity that people had when they're out specifically pheasant hunting, but of course, bumping a couple coveys of partridge.
Absolutely.
Traditionally, I mean, in places that
kind of gets you a little jazz.
Well, it's fun,
and you're
right?
Like, sharps. I just saw sharps.
Yeah,
I just saw Huns.
Exactly.
That mixed bag.
Yeah.
That's part of being in the outdoors in North Dakota. You wind up getting that opportunity for those mixed bags.
Yeah, and it depends on kind of what generation you are, but there are a lot of folks that remember only going out and, 4 sharp tails or 4 partridge,
right.
And then maybe an occasional pheasant type scenario, but now that's switched quite a bit. And so now, but it is having that opportunity at all 3 species when you're out there hunting is, meaningful.
The fourth fun species, we don't talk about it very much because we have specific areas in the state, rough grouse. And I grew up rough grouse hunting. Grand Forks, I'd run up to the Pembina Gorge and do quite a bit of rough grouse hunting. Cyclical, though,
sure.
That 10-year cycle with roughies. What were those numbers like this year?
Yeah, I mean, our rough grouse numbers in North Dakota, like you said, are cyclical, but, being the area that they're in and a pretty specific area. I mean, we don't have, certainly what we would say is abundant rough grouse numbers, and but there are years certainly where they're better than others, and for folks up there that want to go seek that opportunity, it is there. Some years is just going to be a little better or a little worse than others, but there is those opportunities up there, and we get a lot of folks that do enjoy that, and that quick hitting opportunity, walking those trails in the in the Turtle Mountain areas, those different types of things, and then having that kind of quick hitting opportunity with the rough grouse opportunity is definitely something different that, especially coming from a prairie landscape, prairie opportunity in the majority portions of North Dakota. So definitely a different, unique perspective for folks that like the grouse species.
We're talking with Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish. A little update of what last season looked like, a wrap-up on the year, and we're going to get into what the coming year, 2024, is going to look like. And there's some dates that are coming up rather quickly you need to know about. This is Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bakken. We're talking with Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish. Year in review from last hunting season. We talked upland game. We're going to get into waterfowl here in a couple minutes, but I wanted to finish up on the big 3. Of course, we talked a little bit about deer, but moose and elk and bighorn, always fan favorites, partly because the license is so hard to get. I mean, although it seems like I know people that put in for 30-some years and haven't gotten that once-in-a-lifetime draw yet, and they'll have a spouse or somebody puts in for the first time, and boom. It's funny how that works.
Luck of the draw. Luck of the draw, right? It's a true lottery, and so, everybody has the same opportunity. And one of the things that, I always... people that hear this and have heard me talk about this before, they probably roll their eyes because they know I always like to talk about this. But if a person does want to significantly increase your odds of success, you need to put in for a cow elk or a cow moose. That, I mean, it literally turns into a coin flip, and sometimes even more odds in your favor of drawing than not drawing. And now I totally get it and understand it that everybody wants to shoot a bull moose or a bull elk in North Dakota, right?
Especially when you've got bull elk in North Dakota that are world record class bull elk.
But it's just one of those things that, like I said, I totally understand everybody, and myself included, would love to shoot a bull elk or bull moose in North Dakota, but the odds are just not in your favor of ever drawing that license.
I do that all the time, and I used to go to Colorado elk hunting all the time, and I would put in for my preference points for a couple of trophy zones that I like to hunt in, and if I wasn't going for those trophy zones just to accrue points, I was putting in for a cow. herd cows are bigger and the meat's a little better. I think. But I wanted the elk every year. Yeah. If you're looking for, it's about getting in the outdoors and the thrill of that hunt, whether it's got horns or not. But if you want to do the hunt, put in for that cow. Moose, we have got such an incredible moose population in North Dakota that I don't think people to the eastern part of the state really understand the numbers of moose. We may have more moose than Minnesota right now after they had that little disease run through. We got a lot of moose.
Yeah, the north central and northwest part of North Dakota has, over the last several years now, our moose numbers have really filled into that area more so than the traditional northeast portion of North Dakota, and our numbers have been doing good. We have been putting a fair amount of pressure on them the last number of years just due to, some landowner concerns, landowner tolerance, that type of thing. And with moose, it's quite a bit different too, right? I mean, as a department, when we issue a moose license, we pretty much count that license is going to be harvested. It's a very high success rate. Moose is certainly bighorn sheep. They're definitely our highest success rates, and so we know that in North Dakota, obviously, you have that ability to remove moose off the landscape in a short amount of time if that's your goal. And like everything we do in North Dakota, there's a lot that depends on landowner tolerance, and we know that for the most part, landowners are pretty good, pretty accepting of moose, but, they are a big animal. They can, get to be a pain here and there with some fences, that type of thing. And so,
they have no predators in North Dakota. That's why they can sit there and get big.
Yeah.
And one of the things I always look at with a healthy population of any of the large animals, when you start seeing triplets with deer, it's a healthy population. When you start seeing triplets in moose, they have a healthy population. I'll run into moose out pheasant hunting, and more often than not, it's triplets over twins, and I never see a single. It's just, that means there's a healthy population out there.
Yeah. There's no doubt we're pretty blessed with a healthy moose population. Again for what North Dakota has for our habitat base, and then getting into just some of the neat success stories out there. We. As a department, we don't get into the record book type stuff, Steve. I mean, we all look at, somebody that gets a moose license. I mean,
But take that hat off, and now you're an avid outdoorsman, Jeb, and you kind of look at that, right?
Well, for sure. Everybody has an interest in that, and there are some neat success stories with that where people have taken some real magnificent animals, and this year was no exception with that. It
was a good year this year.
It was, definitely a good year. Some really exceptional moose and elk taken in North Dakota, and we've really been working to, there's especially like with elk, elk traditionally kind of western part of the state, over the last number of years, in the Standing Rock area, we've worked with Standing Rock Sioux tribe and a number of landowners in that area with an elk population down there. Well, then now in the northeast part of the state, Turtle Mountains, Pembina Gorge. I mean, obviously there's always been some elk in that area, but really expanding up in that area as well. And so, really been working with a lot of folks up there and trying to get some additional hunting access for hunters that draw those once in a lifetime licenses, while also trying to assist those landowners that are experiencing maybe some higher populations within that localized area. So, but the result of that population growth has been, some really magnificent, mature bull elk. And you also have the Canadian border up there, which challenges things, and provincial park right across the border where there's no hunting allowed. And so those elk are certainly growing on that side of the border, but then not recognizing a international boundary. They come and go across the border just as you would expect they would, and so that creates some challenges for us.
I do deer hunting down on the South Dakota border down in southwestern North Dakota, and they know the border. Yeah. They also know the calendar as well, so because South Dakota's a little later than North Dakota. They know. Yeah. Bighorn.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited about our bighorn sheep population right now. We're about a record high when it comes to that, and some really nice mature rams, which of course is the goal, to remove those nice mature rams out of the population, and that's where the licenses go to. And so this last year we had a total of 6 licenses, and all nice, really nice mature rams that were taken during the hunting season. And we're getting closer to. I did a presentation here the other day with a state tribal relations committee that the legislature puts on, of course, in the interim, and they, met in Newtown, and with, MHA sponsoring that meeting, and had the opportunity to talk and acknowledge and thank the partnership we had with MHA as far as reintroducing bighorn sheep back, to MHA Nation lands in 2020. And so those numbers are doing phenomenal. The reproduction and recruitment of the bighorn sheep numbers. We started with approximately 30 bighorn sheep that were brought from Rocky Boy Indian Reservation, just west of Havre, Montana. Nice partnership with them too to bring those into North Dakota. And so what started about 30, now we're, getting close to 85 to 90 total sheep in that area. So again, reproduction has been really good. Recruitment has been, really good. Not only seeing that reproduction, but making sure they stay within that population. And so that's the key, obviously, to the population growth, and just a phenomenal resource for people to be able to view. We get so many comments and pictures sent to us from people fishing Lake Sakakawea and seeing the bighorn sheep on the steep bluffs, cool. While they're fishing. And so they're just a critter that people really enjoy seeing. And
so with such a limited population, trying to grow that population in limited licenses, how much of a facilitator does Game and Fish act as? Because, there's certain animals you want culled out. I mean, do you work with the hunting parties to manage that and go, we need that older ram gone? Or is it just, okay, here's your license, go out and hunt?
Very closely. Work very closely with each one of them, because again, we feel good about the population that we have, but if somebody just blindly draws a bighorn sheep license, I mean, it's still a little bit of a needle in a haystack, right? And so, number one, you're, wanting to work with them, let them know, where these sheep are spending a lot of time. We're not taking and pinpointing, saying, hey, shoot this one, that type of thing. But
please take the big one.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, that, that is the goal of it, is that, you try to educate people the best possible, saying, hey, the mature rams are the ones that we want to remove from the population. Now, it's not an exact requirement. Nobody's going to get a ticket if they don't, but yet, 99% of the time people do. But
that's the management side of it.
So. Yeah, exactly.
Working with the hunters, and North Dakota Game and Fish Executive Director Jeb Williams. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Your destination.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
And ideas. RM World Travel. Sunday morning, starting at 5 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app. Talk of the Town, brought to you by Big Boy. Just get in line. It moves fast. Dakota Pharmacy and Dakota Natural Health Center. We're here to help you stay well. Trademark Realty, Peak Automotive and Service, and Silver Ranch. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bynum, along with Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish Executive Director. And, we had a pretty good fishing season this last year, open water fishing. We're going to get to ice here in just a little bit, but wow. I didn't need bait. You just threw the hook in, and you wound up with a really nice walleye.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Steve, backing up too. I mean, you go back 3, 4, 5, even beyond that, and it seemed like every year you're kind of saying to yourself, you're like, gosh, can it get better? Well, it has. It has continued to get better and better. And what we're seeing in some of our data, of course, it's collected throughout the open water fishing season, is that it's going to go down on record as the best walleye season in North Dakota open water fishing season. And
big fish came out too.
I mean, just the abundance of fish. And, of course, we always talk about our big three. We talked about our big three hunting wise a little bit ago, but, the big three lakes, North Dakota, Devil's Lake, Oahe, and Sakakawea, obviously, put out a lot of that. But prairie lakes, from all corners of the state have been very, very productive these last number of years, too.
There's a lot of little hunting holes around North Dakota that people don't go, whoa, wait a minute, there's some nice fish in here.
Yeah, and it's so nice just due to the fact that, one of the things that majority people anyway, that like so much when they like to go out fishing, they like, obviously, the space, right? They don't like crowds. They don't like long lines, those types of things. So anytime we can have more opportunity like we had, like, say, in 2023 and even past that, it just spreads people out, right?
Well, and the opportunities at the prairie lakes, because you used to think about that little slough bottom that turned into a lake that, there's some pretty good pan fishing in there or perch fishing. And those opportunities have expanded because now they're a good walleye lake or a good northern lake, good bass lake. The opportunities from what do I want to go fish for today? They're out there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, a person doesn't have to look very far. And that's I always say this too, is it's so nice, as a kid that grew up in Beach, North Dakota, where Lake Skakawea was not right in my backyard, but fishing opportunities are still really,
you might have been a little closer to Fort Peck.
Yeah, for sure. And so, but the fishing opportunities are just important to, a kid growing up there, as they are, if you grew up in Garrison. You just have a little better opportunity if you grew up in Garrison, as far as that, the big lake experience goes. But so it's just nice being able to see the opportunities given to the public all across the state with these smaller prairie lakes where you don't have to travel as far, to some of those bigger destinations.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the big three, and actually I'll say 3.5 because we'll come back to the Missouri River here. But Devil's Lake was big producer, winter ice fishing, walleye in the summer, great lake. Skakawea has kind of blown it out of the water.
Yeah, it has. And we saw that too. I mean, a lot of people asking a lot of questions. Obviously, there's lots of forage fish in there. That's a good thing. Anytime, you're looking at, growing that population, having good, healthy fish, that's super important. Obviously, water levels, we've been blessed with good water levels the last couple of years when we were actually, kind of concerned not too many years ago about the direction of Lake Skakawea water levels. And so we've been blessed, with some good spring rains and snows in Montana that have really contributed to filling up Lake Skakawea and then being able to maintain that elevation level as well. So super important, when it comes to that fishery and obviously the sustainability of that lake and reproduction of, the game species, but then also, again, the forage fish, those types of things.
So with what we're at right now with this winter and not a whole lot of snow, we had a lot of saturation, a lot of moisture in the soil, that rain event that we had here. You didn't get that a little further to the west. Montana's been fairly dry in eastern Montana. Are there concerns from Game and Fish about some of those water levels coming up this spring?
I wouldn't say concerns. I mean, we went into, this winter in better condition as far as that lake elevation goes. So we're situated just a little bit better if we do get into a scenario where we don't get a lot of runoff from Montana. Now, obviously, it would be sure be nice if we would get some good runoff from Montana, and hopefully that winter snowpack picks up a little bit for any of the ski, folks that out there that like skiing, they'd like that as well. But then, again, just from our lake standpoint, we sure hope that picks up a little bit in some of those areas too.
Oahe also great fishery this last summer.
Yeah.
You guys work, of course, with South Dakota Game and Fish, managing that as we share that resource. One of the things that popped up in Oahe, though, that is a little concerning, zebra mussels.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And, not only the fact that, zebra mussels, but adult zebra mussels, that tells you that they've probably been there a while. Now, the good news is that, it's a ways away from our border and, of course, downstream from us. So that's obviously good news. But, one of the things that's, unfortunately that we know about zebra mussels is that usually the way they move is by people, right? When it comes to that type of scenario, we know there's a lot of activity of people, coming and going, North Dakota, South Dakota, fishing Lake Oahe, both on our side and South Dakota side, and then, coming back into different parts and different areas. And so just the continued message of making sure that, your boat, your clean, drain, and dry, right? I mean,
Well, it's not just the boat, though. It's ice fishing.
Yeah.
Because people that are ice fishing, you pick up and go drag the equipment from one to the other, and if you got a little foliage you might have picked up out of your hole and you pop over to another body of water, you have to be diligent year-round when it comes to zebra mussels. It's not just summer.
That's a good point, Steve. I mean, I think there's no doubt that the risk is less, in the winter months, just because of, you have much more control over the situation as far as that, the hole that you're ice fishing in front of versus, say, a boat type scenario that, a lot of times, even if you're doing everything correct, even in a boat scenario or a dock scenario, that type of thing, that, sometimes they can find those little hiding spots. But yeah, there's no doubt that people just, we need to continue to have that education out there to protect our bodies of water the best we can against, zebra mussels.
I'm going to go back to the half now, Missouri River, and I don't think I've ever seen boats this late this year. A couple of weeks ago, I counted 12 boats from the Memorial Bridge on the river. And I mean, wow. And they were hammering them.
Yeah.
I mean, it had been a great fall. As long as that weather held, it was a great fall on the Missouri River.
Yeah. Yeah. A person always kind of wonders, and I visited with a couple of them that I knew that were out there, and I, just kind of teasing them a little bit, just wondering,
you weren't one of them?
Is it? No, my boat's in storage, so I didn't even have any opportunity.
I talked to people that were pounding them off the bank. Yeah. It was crazy this fall.
And I was just curious, though, is it the uniqueness of the experience, or are people doing really well fishing? And I think it was both. I mean, people were really catching good fish, but too, just the uniqueness of being able to stay here on the river.
In Bismarck at the end of December. It was a crazy year for that.
Yeah.
But the fish numbers were there.
They were. Yeah, people were really catching some nice fish. I saw some pictures and talked to a guy down at Pony Express, and he was showing me some of the fish he was catching, and so it was nice. But I was asking, kind of asking some of those guys too. Do you ever get kind of nervous about the ramp, a little bit, freezing up a little bit just throughout, but our days were so nice that, obviously if it was super early in the morning or, late in the day after, people pulling boats out, and then the ramp maybe getting a little slick towards the end of the day. But I could see myself getting into a bad situation with, jackknifing my boat and my pickup sliding down the ramp. And but I don't know if I'd be brave enough to do that. But
well, that's what those steel grates on the boat ramps are for.
Well, I don't know. Some have them, some don't. So, yeah.
So getting into some of the ice fishing, because now we're transitioning with the colder weather. We're finally getting into some ice fishing. Still extremely dangerous ice conditions out there.
Yeah, I think, certainly with the conditions we're getting into now, we're building some pretty good ice. But, yeah, just like we were just talking about, I mean, people open water fishing here in January in North Dakota. And, anybody that was, pheasant hunting up until the last weekend of the season and, first weekend in January, still, breaking through in different parts of the state, walking sloughs, that type of thing. I mean, that's just doesn't normally happen. And so, but definitely this stretch now, we're going to build a lot of ice, and it's going to be good ice, and don't have any snow on top of it, that type of thing as far as insulation wise. So there's going to be some good ice that's built, but yeah, we're not starting this in middle of January with a tremendous ice base. So people still need to be, I think, educate themselves on what those conditions are.
Just going back to the open water real quickly, though. So pretty good opportunity to catch a new state record walleye in Bismarck Mandan coming up next spring.
Well, I think where we're at in our fisheries scenario, I think that opportunity exists every spring now.
Might be out there, folks.
Yeah.
We're talking with Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish. We're going to talk ice fishing when we come back from the break. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Buying along with Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish Director. And, I want to finish up a little bit on some of the ice. Right now, ice conditions, because of the warm weather we've had, may look okay, but don't trust it. Really don't trust it right now.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to start it, Steve.
Bring your safety stuff with you.
For sure, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things we just, considering we're mid-January now, or close to anyway, this
is a discussion we usually have in November.
Right. We're just not in normal conditions, and, we're definitely going to be building some ice with the colder temperatures now, but up to this point, there's been areas where, you have maybe 6-7 inches of ice, and, and like you pointed out earlier too, we've just been getting, so much melting, and, then building a little bit of ice, but then melting again, and so it's just, there's just been a lot of inconsistency. And so, where people are going to be venturing out a little bit more now, moving forward, the ice is definitely going to be building some, but I think just an extra reminder out there is always a good thing especially, when we're in a year like this.
Safety first, bring your safety equipment, let people know where you're going, what time you're going to be back, all of that good safety protocol. I want to get into 2024 opening dates. You've got some dates coming up. Spring Turkey, of course, that's the first one on the docket.
It is, yeah. We, the Spring Turkey Proclamation has been submitted to the governor, and the recommendation is to increase on the number of licenses, and so that'll be coming out here fairly soon. But you're right, that's the first one, and we hope to have those the application online here right around the 18th, 19th of January, somewhere around there, and then after that, some of the season, the tentative opening dates for that is April 13th, and then of course our opening dates that we have put forward for our 2024 season, all on our website. But deer and deer bow season August 30th, and dove, the standard September 1st, youth deer September 13th, and then after that we have just a kind of a march of our upland game seasons, which open up every consecutive weekend, and waterfall season. So September, October, there pretty much have every weekend there's an opening season going on. So anybody interested in our tentative open dates, just jump on our website and check it out, and make sure to get it marked on your calendar.
One of the things with the website, you guys have really done a really good job with the electronic posting of things. That information has been phenomenal, the mapping and everything. Fill us in a little bit about where that program is.
Yeah, so it's continues to grow. We've seen growth every year. There's approximately, this year was right around 9 million acres posted electronically. To me, the most important stat that is really important to point out is that landowners that are signing up electronically, posting their property, of course, by law, they don't have to put a phone number on that, but there is an option to do that. And this year, 58% of those individuals did put a phone number on there, which hunters really, really appreciate. And, if you can have that connectivity there, if somebody's willing to put their phone number out there, that generally means that they're probably at least willing to give you, at least willing to visit with you, and might not work out for that particular weekend, but, who knows, it might be another weekend. So again, just increasing the communication between those two parties is key, and, lots of opportunities to continue to make electronic posting better. And I think there's ways that we can continue to do that. But, so far, I think everybody's been fairly comfortable with the electronic posting system.
Bottom line, it comes back to landowner relations. Get out there and be a good steward of the land. The landowner is. The farmer, the rancher, very good stewards of the land. As a hunter, being able to utilize those opportunities, be very grateful for that as well. But the phone number piece is, I find that the best part, because I was a little sad when phone numbers didn't have to be on the posted signs anymore. It made it a little harder to keep up some of those relationships or build those relationships. But that's really the key to hunting opportunities here in North Dakota.
Well, it is, and again, a person has some options in North Dakota. I mean, there is some public land in North Dakota, whether it be true public land or whether it be our plots program or private land open to sportsmen. But the majority of the landscape in North Dakota is privately owned, and if a person is going to have the hunting experience and opportunities in North Dakota, you're going to need to form those relationships with private landowners to really expand that base. That's the majority of the land in North Dakota.
And those hunting opportunities really starts with the kids. So take a kid hunting, take a kid fishing, but that starts with hunter education classes. And you guys are always looking for instructors.
We are, yeah. And anytime if there's somebody interested in becoming a hunter ed instructor, really encourage them to contact us and talk to them. It's a mentor program as well, to where they can, learn under an existing hunter ed instructor and become comfortable with the instruction part and the class, all those types of things. And just a very rewarding program, for those individuals that, like to volunteer and like to volunteer with something they feel very passionate about. And that's, of course, instructing our future hunters about the right and wrong ways of going about your business.
And this is really the time of the year where you need to be thinking about that, whether you've got a youngster that's getting into hunting. What are the criteria? You have to be 12 years old.
Correct.
And then you got to get the kids into those classes, because those classes sometimes are a little bit full.
Yeah. So there's a couple key things on that, is that, there are opportunities for people to sign up for our text alerts when classes become available, because they do fill up fast. But this is the time of year when you need to be looking into that. And so if your child is turning 12 during the calendar year, they are eligible then, for a class. So if they're 11 right now, but are, turning 12 in November, they can get into a class, right now. And so, be looking for that. If your child does need hunter education and you want to get them through that, now's the time to start looking. We have all of our courses offered on our website, under online classes and opportunities there. But then you can also get some text alerts to become aware of the classes.
And then as far as instructors, same thing, just go on the North Dakota Game and Fish website?
Absolutely. There'll be a contact spot if you're interested in becoming a Game and Fish Department volunteer instructor, and we'll walk you through that process.
And if you haven't downloaded the app for the North Dakota Game and Fish, do that. How do people get all that information?
Yeah, all on our website. Our app is, we have about 40,000 people that have signed up on our app now within, about 6-7 months. So we think that's a good data point.
And quickly, the website?
nd.gov. ndgf.gov.
ndgf.gov.
Yeah.
Jeb Williams, North Dakota Game and Fish. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union studio.
Talk of the Town with Steve Bakken. Weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app. Talk of the Town, brought to you by Big Boy. Just get in line. It moves fast. Dakota Pharmacy and Dakota Natural Health Center. We're here to help you stay well. Trademark Realty, Peak Automotive and Service, and Silver Ranch. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Good morning, my friends. You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. Coming up, we're going to talk with Alan Schlag, hydrologist, National Weather Service, find out what the latest of our cold snap is. As far as ice formation, of course, we just talked to the Game and Fish Department, Jeb Williams, ice a little sketchy at best. And speaking of ice, that means it's hockey season, and it is Friday. Time to talk with Tom Briggle, Bismarck Bobcats. Good morning, Tom.
Hey, good morning to you. Yeah, a little bit of hockey weather, but I'm as glad for the fishermen. Like, they need some ice.
Yeah, you actually see. The last time we talked, it was it was last year. You guys haven't played hockey
right around New Year's.
Yeah.
I think. and there was no ice for fishing, but there was plenty of ice for hockey, and has been since too. We're lucky that way.
Let's talk a little bit about last time you guys played a little hockey, because you haven't been back to the VFW for a while. So what's happened in the interim?
Well, last weekend, we had a really good series down in Austin, which has historically been a tough place for us to play, to be honest. But we went down Friday. We really outplayed them. We should have got the 4 points. But if you can imagine this, Bobcat fans and Steve, so we caught up. We were ahead 2-rip, had to catch up, play a little catch up, tied it with like a minute and a half left. 3-3, and we went to a 30-man shootout, which is a record. You can imagine if you're watching an NHL game and it goes to the 15th shooter per side, right?
Is that the goalie? You wind up having the goalie shoot? You wind up having the goalie shoot at each other at that point, or?
Well, I thought I don't know. I was thinking about the coaches, like throw the coaches out there. Maybe if we got to the 23rd person, we needed Oshie is what we needed. But it was interesting because it was exciting, like crazy. Can imagine. And so our fourth shooter scored. So we're thinking, okay, here we go, right? And God, their fourth shooter scored. So then just kept going, and both goalies, of course, stood on their heads. They were just, they were brilliant. But, that's an all-time record. I remember back in like 2003 or 4, we had 13 shooters aside, and I can remember it in some ways like yesterday. The fans, like it was a full barn, and the fans were just going crazy. It was just nuts.
You talk about the edge of your seat from a fan perspective. 30 people on a shootout. It's like, okay, can you take a pause? I got to run to the bathroom real quick here.
It's like you got to make ice.
Yeah,
so you want to reopen the beer stand.
But
it was fun. But nonetheless, so on Friday, we took a point. We really thought we had earned 2, but we took the point. But on Saturday night, the boys, we owned them. Like, we just owned them in every facet of the game. We were faster, stronger, just better. And so we ripped them 4-0. And Austin's, a pretty good club, defending champions. And so the boys played really well. And, we're hoping that continues into our barn. It's nice to be home. We're home this weekend. We're home next weekend. Sleep in your own bed, have your fan base. So we're pretty excited about this weekend. And
well, we talk about this a lot, Tom. Split on the road, sweep at home. That's a good formula for hockey. But you did play well. That 4-3 loss on Friday night in the shootout with Austin, and being the defending champs, they really haven't lost a lot. But then owning them on Saturday night 4-0. The team's got to feel pretty good about that. Heading back to Bismarck to the VFW Arena, seems like forever since we played there. It was last year,
it is. The whole year ago, and there's only one game, right?
So North Iowa coming to town this weekend. What are they looking like? Because that's a team that's kind of evolving a little bit as well.
Yeah, they're pretty young, and they're affiliated with the USHL team. The owners own Omaha Lancers and North Iowa. And so North Iowa, they've had a coaching change, so they're kind of in transition, let's say. But in our division, I mean, you've been around a long time, just like me. You can't really take anyone lightly because they'll come on, they'll take it to you. And these kids, they don't quit, and they got aspirations to play college hockey, and so there's no quitting any of them. We're a better club than they are, but still, you still got to, it's like every game, you still got to play the game. And so it'll be interesting. And got another new face. We traded for a young guy. He's like 6'3" guy, a little bit smaller up front, not as physical as we'd like to be, perhaps. So we traded for a fellow from Odessa. His name's Adam, and he'll be in the lineup this weekend, I'm sure. And
I want to talk a little bit about
just continuing to build our team.
I want to talk a little bit about the makeup of the team after the break, but just going back to the North Iowa, how much of an advantage is that? Because everybody familiar with the USHL, Omaha Lancers, one of the better teams that are there, big rivalry with Fargo. Talk a little bit about, is that an advantage, having that USHL team and the NAHL team, as far as the ability to move some players around? How does that play out?
Maybe. Yeah, you would think so, but, they haven't really used it to their advantage, in my opinion. Like, if I was an NA team and owned a USHL team, too, I would say, okay, come to play in Bismarck and maybe play in the USHL, but again, I mean, I'm probably the wrong audience here because I don't care about the USHL, because I just care about the boys, and I think the USHL is great, but not for a lot of boys like we've talked before. And so, I don't know. I just maybe it could be an advantage, but it cuts both ways, too. Like, their best player, his name is Mexico, played in North Iowa. He's a stud, right? And but now he's down in Omaha. Well, he's like fourth-line guy. He should be in my opinion. I'm about the boys. As you know, I'm not trying to sound like a big shot or whatever, but I'm about the boys.
Well, and that's why I bring it up.
They had a boy last year. Get this. So they had a boy last year in North Iowa, right? He went down and played in Omaha. Didn't get too much ice. Came back to North Iowa as just stud because he was getting his ice time, right? Well, now, Steve, he's the best player, Division I player on Army's team. Had he not come back to North Iowa, they may not have even taken him. Because you get buried, right?
Well, that's why I bring it up, Tom, because if you've got those multiple levels, because it is about the development of the boys. And you and I talk about this a lot. That's why I would think it would be an advantage if you've got this larger pool of kids you can juggle back and forth a little bit and make sure that they're tracking in their development. I would think that would be a huge advantage and best for the kids.
Yeah. But it hasn't proved to be, and the reason is that they'll take the players. They'll take the players out of North Iowa thinking that, okay, they're good. It's a business. So they want their best players, like in Omaha, right? In their mind, their best players, whether it's the best for the boy or not. I shouldn't be so direct, perhaps. But, again, I'm all about player individual development. I don't believe in the ladder development. I believe the ladder development is unique to each boy, and that's why we're so successful taking boys that are not committed and getting them looks because they get the opportunity to play. And again, it's not disrespect to the USHL. They have the national team and they have NHLers for sure. But there's a lot of good hockey players, and a lot of them are better off right in Bismarck, North Dakota, and in our partners, right?
Bottom line, it comes down to ice time.
It hasn't served them very well, in my opinion, I guess, this year, particularly.
Bottom line, it comes down to ice time.
It comes to ice time, development, and opportunity. And, some of it's just mental. You want to be on the ice. These boys want to play. And,
I think
why I love our league so much, because
you would be good.
Scratch and
you would be good as a multiple owner.
Right?
You would be good as a multiple owner if you had the NAHL team and a USHL team. You would make that work for the benefit of the kids. So I'm just throwing it out there, Tom. You would. You do a good job with that. When we come back, I want to talk about Austin Bruins coming up this weekend, or North Iowa coming up this weekend, then Austin the following weekend. Not to look ahead, but what the makeup of the team looks like, because we're still in that building and finalizing the team stage. Bismarck Bobcats, Tom Briggle, the owner of the Bismarck Bobcats. You can catch the Bobcats right here on Super Talk 1270, the home of the Bobcats, on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
You're tuned to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bakken. We're talking with Tom Briggle, owner of the Bismarck Bobcats. Big weekend off of Austin as they got a split. Incredible. Set a record, 30 shooters in a shootout. It was unbelievable in a Friday night loss, but got a point out of that, and then owned them on Saturday night. Now they're going to be coming up in a couple weeks here in our barn. But before we get there, we can't overlook anybody in North Iowa. Bulls are coming. A team a little bit in transition, like you said. New coach, a little bit of a transition with North Iowa. What are we looking at taking on North Iowa Bulls? Because a team in tradition, a team in transition, we shouldn't overlook them, but we should handle them pretty well. Because right now with the Bobcats, you're still kind of in that building or solidifying stage. You said you mentioned the kid you just picked up out of Odessa. Still. Lane's tweaking the team a little bit. We're
tweaking the team, and we think we have a lot of the right, pieces. We made a few trades. We traded young man Reller to Ross down in Oklahoma City this weekend, and you just need a change of scenery a little bit. He's a really good hockey player, but need a change. And so we replaced him with a boy from Odessa. He's a big boy too, 6'3", and from Arizona, good, solid hockey player. And so he'll be a good depth player for us. And we're excited to have him. But yeah, we have some tweaking. I mean, we're in second place, and you know, and we're looking up, but not as far up as we needed to in previous years, right? So we kind of like our team. We want to create some distance between us and, you know, St. Cloud's a good team. Aberdeen is coming on a little bit, and Austin. You know, those three are the ones we need to separate from. But you know, we have our sights set on something big. We think we have a pretty good team, and of course, over the holidays, you know, we lost to Minot 3 in a row. We got to only 1 point from them, but it was kind of bizarre. We, you know, with the ice and everything, the boys didn't get in until the day before the games, and we just never ever got settled. But having said that, you know, Minot is the team to beat without a doubt. They've only lost I think 7 games, 2 of them to us. But you know, we have our sights again not to look too far ahead, but they're the team that we need to beat, and we need to beat the others along the way, including North Iowa. So the boys will play hard this weekend. They're not going to take anyone lightly, and you know, we really do like our club. We're always looking to improve, though. You know, we want to get a little bit better defensively, I think, and I don't mean just defensively, but just defensively in terms of our play. But we have solid goaltending, and our forwards are really good. Offensively, we've scored more goals than anybody in our division. So we like the pieces, but we're always going to tweak just a little bit. We only, you know, the deadline is February 7th. In terms of adding players, we have a boy coming, just in that vein, in terms of Lane tweaking the team. We have a boy coming from, he's actually a Russian. He's coming I think like January 22nd or something. His name's Alexander Kim, if fans want to look him up. But he's from Russia, but he's been playing at the highest 18U team in Finland. He put up I think 68 points, and we've talked with some scouts, and they thought he was one of the best players in Finland at the U18 level. So we're excited about that, even though he's young and it'll be an adjustment. But he's a skill player. It'll be fun to watch him develop. So we're tweaking. Going to win.
So North Iowa this weekend, and we're not going to overlook them at all, but then Austin coming back, which is going to be a really good test back in our barn after we just come off of a split with them down in their barn. So some pretty good meter sticks coming up, also St. Cloud after that. So as we're building to try to improve the team, you mentioned the defense. Any other areas that Lane's looking at maybe bolstering a little bit? Because we're setting up right now for that run towards the playoffs. So, and you mentioned the deadline coming up. Any other areas of concern as far as addressing, maybe some depth or maybe some size? Because
not really. You know,
top to bottom, we look good.
We want to get to the point where we can roll 4 lines up front, and that's what we're doing up front. With the forwards, we have a lot of veterans on D, a couple of young ones, you know, that are coming along, and so, you know, they'll come along as well. And if we need, you know, we get to add a player in February. I don't know if it'll be a forward or a D, but you know, we just want to continue to focus on having a complete team. But our goaltending's solid. I mean, Knapp, that was his 5th shutout, and you know, he's just been playing really well. And Stefan Peck has been playing really well. He's so that's committed to Michigan, right? He's a stud, but he's young, so he's coming along. But our goaltending is solid, and you know, defensive game broadly, being forwards and D, you know, we need to. I think Lane's kind of focused on that, and because we think we can score some goals for sure.
Well, maybe we can talk him out of decommitting, talk him out of going to Michigan, because I hate Michigan. I think. UND, that's screw the Gophers. For me, it's Michigan is UND's biggest rival. I hate Michigan.
Really?
When it comes to hockey. Yeah. I lived in Michigan for a while. You got to remember, they go, "Oh, we're the hockey school." They got all their titles when there were 4 teams.
Oh, so you get okay. So let's be clear to your fans on the radio. So you hate Michigan because they kicked you out of school.
I never went there.
Dropped you like a rock, and so now you hate Michigan hockey.
Never went there.
Is that what we're talking about here?
No. I was a Sparty fan, actually, because they would, cheer with the Sioux fans.
Well, you can't wear your Spartan pants to the Michigan game and not to get kicked out of school.
But the level of hockey with the Bobcats, I mean, great example because Michigan's a storied program. So having a commit to Michigan, that's a big deal. Any of those pedigreed Division I programs, that is a big
they're
feather.
Muscle.
Yeah,
they're muscle.
Yeah, so, Tom, as far as what's going on at the rink this weekend, of course, nobody parties like a Bobcat. You always have some great things going on for the fans.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's cold as hell outside, of course, but people should know that inside the arena, it's like 60, 65 degrees. They won't need to wear parkas. Like sometimes,
if you want to warm up, go to a hockey game.
It's going to be cold in there, but it's not cold in there. It's nice. So it's just 20 feet getting from, I suppose, the car to the door, but we've only got a couple hundred tickets left, really, for each night, and so we expect it to be a full barn again. And what Brad got going on? He's got 300 little mini sticks, scratch mini sticks. It's the third of a series of 4 that first 300 get tonight, and then tomorrow we're auctioning off game worn home jerseys. So there's always plenty of going on in the barn, and the show's great. I think they're just loving it, and we love that they are. Let's put it that way. So. Forget about the cold. Get out and have some fun, and we're sure you will. There's a nice cold beer up there because it's not cold in the arena. You'll still be good to go.
If you want to warm up from the cold, go to a hockey game. That's the best way to do it because it's warmer in the arena. Bismarck Bobcats this weekend taking on the North Iowa Bulls. Go to the game. Only a few tickets left. BismarckBobcats.com. If you haven't done so, download the Bismarck Bobcat app. And, of course, you can catch all the action right here on your home of the Bobcats. Super Talk 1270. Tom, always a pleasure on Fridays, my friend, to talk to you and talk a little hockey.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Stay warm, guys.
Tom Briggle, owner of the Bismarck Bobcats. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270. When we come back, Alan Schlag, meteorologist and hydrologist with the National Weather Service, coming up next on Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Bakken, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app. Talk of the Town, brought to you by Big Boy. Just get in line. It moves fast. Dakota Pharmacy and Dakota Natural Health Center. We're here to help you stay well. Trademark Realty, Peak Automotive and Service, and Silver Ranch. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken along with Alan Schlag. He is the hydrologist with the National Weather Service. Good morning, Alan.
Good morning, Steve.
So I want to get a little snapshot where we are because last time we talked, we were doing okay water-wise. We had that snowstorm earlier in the fall. Ground wasn't froze up yet. Got a lot of moisture. That moisture from that system, we wound up having it go into the ground. So from a hydrological perspective, and I can't believe I said that word without screwing it up so early in the morning, but from a hydrological perspective, where are we at from an agriculture thought process? Because, one of the things when we're in a winter like this where we haven't had a lot of snow is you start thinking about, well, what's it going to be like in the spring?
Well, that's a really good way to look at it, is what we're going to look like come spring, Steve. So across the state right now, we don't have a lot of snow sitting on top of the ground. However, the soils that are beneath what little snow we do have are relatively wet to at least normal. There's not a lot of reports out there of really, really dry ground. In particular, if you go, let's say Sioux County, Morton County, on east over into the James River Basin and the Red River Valley, that neck of the woods, they had a pretty significant ice storm here recently. There were reports of over an inch of freezing rain south of Jamestown. So put a lot of moisture on the ground, and of course we've been fairly cool since then, So most of that moisture is still there. It is trapped in the soil, or it's still frozen on the ground, and that's some water that's going to be available for the spring. It does concern me if we were to get a lot of snow or an early spring rain, because right now the soils in that general geographic area of North Dakota have what I like to often refer to as the hard candy coating. Okay, the soils are very impermeable right now. Any rain or any fast melting snow, we're going to see significant runoff from a given snowpack.
So how much of that did we see in the Bismarck-Mandan area? Because, my yard, pretty impermeable. I mean, I've got that candy coating on my yard as well. So is it to a lesser degree, but we've got the same conditions here in the Bismarck-Mandan area? Because we did have some freezing rain around here.
Absolutely. I think here in the Bismarck area, it dropped off rapidly as you got towards Bismarck. So by the time you're into central Morton County, maybe they got a tenth of an inch of rain out of that. As you go east, I live just east of Lincoln, and we had just over a quarter of an inch in that area. So it dropped off pretty quickly as you moved west across that event. Now, it's still here. I was pushing snow the other day where actually I was scraping my driveway of ice. And last several years, when I'd go and I'd push snow out into the lawn with my tractor, I would leave big divots. Not a chance this year. The blade and the bucket barely even skimmed the top of the ground. I don't think I disturbed anything. So we do absolutely have that hard candy coating here that really makes our soils impermeable for the time being.
You know, it's kind of funny. The best investment in the world, ice cleats. But even taking the dogs out on the lawn after that ice event, it took a couple days because it did warm up right after that a little bit. And you couldn't get any traction on my lawn or in the yard until some of the ice started falling off the tree branches and then refroze. So it was rough enough to at least be able to walk on. Dogs couldn't even walk on it. That's how slick it was. But so setting up for what we've got right now, we got a little snow. We got another little system coming through this weekend. Extremely cold temperatures this weekend as well. Snowpack-wise, because of all that moisture in the fall and that rain event that we had with the freezing moisture, where are we at from a soil perspective? I mean, my mind would say we probably don't need as much snowpack as we head towards spring for the farmers and ranchers out there.
I think that would be the correct way to look at it. Anywhere that we've seen that freezing rain, and then, like I say, moving on east to the state, currently I would suggest that they're doing just fine. Okay? Now, northwestern part of the state, north central, where they got very little rain out of that event, there's maybe a little bit more of a concern. And then again, out in the very western portion, out in the Badlands, again, there they probably have a lot drier soils, and again, they don't have a lot of snow. And when we look through the entire Missouri River Basin upstream in North Dakota, all the way into Montana, and if you've been talking to anybody that's been out skiing in Montana lately, they'll tell you there is not a lot of snow in the mountains currently. And that is a bit of a concern when we look at the main stem of the Missouri River. Currently, it's tracking well below any winter that we've seen in the last 30 years. So that is a bit of a concern for us, again, especially in the main stem Missouri. More locally, I don't know that I'm too terribly concerned yet, because it only takes that one or two big snow events to really change the perspective on how we're sitting. So we're behind. That is definitely fair to say with regards to snow cover and water sitting on top of the ground. We're absolutely behind normal for this time of year.
With the system that we've got lined up, we're expecting a little bit of snow this weekend. What's the long-term looking at as we're starting to get into the end of January, February, March? Any indications that we are going to get some of the more of that snowpack, or is it going to be kind of hit and miss and we'll see what we get?
I think it's fair to say that it's going to be somewhat hit and miss. We're not seeing anything in either the Climate Prediction Center outlooks for the longer-term 1 month and 3 month that really offer us any kind of indication that we're going to see an above normal wet period. And then the shorter term weather forecasts and models, we see these little tiny snow events coming in. Like, again, we might see somewhere between 1 and 3. Maybe somebody's going to get 4 inches over the next several days, but it's going to be not very common that we see that much snow. 1 to a couple inches of snow, I think, is actually probably more reasonable for most locations. Matter of fact, we received 1 inch of snow last night here in the Bismarck area. And again, it's welcome as far as the moisture and everything, but it's not a big savings grace for us by any stretch.
We're talking with Alan Schlag, hydrologist, National Weather Service. When we come back, we're going to talk about the potential for ice damming with these colder temperatures. That is what we're going to discuss next. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, I'm Steve Bakken. We're talking with Alan Schlag with the National Weather Service, hydrologist. And, we're talking about what the Missouri River's looking like with no snowpack up at the headwaters. And I was actually down in Minneapolis last weekend, and there was no ice on the lakes. It was crazy. I get back to Bismarck, we get the little cold snap, and for the first time all winter, I saw ice forming on the Missouri River. Now, with what's going on hydrologically speaking, probably not a lot of concern at the moment for some flooding issues come spring. However, what we are susceptible here is ice damming, and the National Weather Service just came out with a report, a warning for some potential ice damming, some potential flooding. Alan, fill us in on that. What's the heads up for?
You're right, Steve. So we just yesterday issued what we call a hydrologic outlook, and it's where I go out and I kind of give people my perception on what is taking place that they should know about. And in this particular example, the Missouri River has been flowing wide open all winter long thus far. Okay, people have been out in the boat fishing on the Missouri River here.
Two weeks ago. Yeah, two weeks ago, a week and a half ago, I counted 12 boats out there.
Yeah, I might have been one of them. Okay, so now we're starting to see ice coming down the river. We've gotten colder over the last several days, and so we've hit in that temperature regime that is encouraging the formation of what we call ice pans. And they're these large, somewhat circular sheets of ice that will come down the river. And, of course, if you're out fishing, you're going to call it an iceberg because you certainly won't want to run into one of them. Now, what is going to eventually happen, and this happens pretty much every year, the Missouri River is currently sitting right around 5 feet for a stage, okay? Just to give people a little bit of perspective, here in the Bismarck area, it's around a stage of 5 feet. As we go forward over the next several days, and it's really difficult to pinpoint exactly when this is going to happen because there's a lot of variables. First, the river's still open all the way down past the Hazelton boat ramp. Okay, so we have a lot of storage for ice on top of the river south of us. But eventually, that will all fill in, and the ice will appear to start blocking up the river here in the Bismarck area. And so you think of these sheets of ice that are coming down, when they run aground on a bend in the river, and this in particular happens down by the University of Mary, between the University of Mary and McLean Bottoms, it's a very meandering stretch of the river. So the ice sheets want to keep going straight, They run aground into the outside corner of the river. They stop. The one behind them runs into them. And next thing you know, all these ice sheets start turning not horizontal, but vertical. And when they do this, they start obstructing the flow in the river. And when that happens, there's only one thing that can take place, and that is the river is going to have to rise in order to allow the same amount of water to keep progressing downstream.
And that could happen quite quickly.
It happens very quickly at times, okay? So it is not taking place yet. We're seeing the ice coming down the river, but for the time being, it's not getting stuck. It's still making its way through the bends down by the University of Mary. But sometime, and it could happen as early as starting tomorrow, or it could be sometime this coming weekend, but sometime over the next week, we are absolutely going to see the ice cover take place here in the Bismarck area. We have that cold of temperatures inbound. The river is going to produce a lot of ice, and eventually it's going to start getting stuck in those bends, and then it's going to start backing up into the Bismarck area. Now, importantly, what happens then is we will see a very quick rise in water levels as recorded at the gauges, either the Missouri River south of Mandan or the USGS gauge here in the city of Bismarck. We will see those rise anywhere from about 5 feet to almost 7 feet. And now when you take the 5 feet that we're currently at, and let's say you add another 7, now you're at 12 feet. Can you imagine some of these new homeowners that just bought a home along the Missouri River here, and they haven't seen this take place yet, but they go to work in the morning, and when they come home in the afternoon, the river is 7 feet higher. That is literally the situation that can happen.
It's a little disconcerting.
Absolutely. It really gets people's attention, and it makes them nervous. But what I'm going to tell you is it's a normal process. We see it just about every winter. I think there's been 1 or 2 winters that I can remember where we went all winter long without significant ice cover in the Bismarck area.
Well, that was my other question for you. Is we do have a history of this, so it's not an unknown, and we do get that ice damming, those pans backing up pretty consistently in the Bismarck-Mandan area. Now, we've also had a history of some of them getting quite severe to the extent that there could be some flooding or has been some flooding in the past. What's that level? Where does that trigger?
Okay, so the flood stage at Bismarck is defined as a stage of 14.5 feet at the Bismarck gauge of the USGS. All right? That's where we know that we start seeing impacts to private property, we see impacts to public infrastructure, et cetera. Now, when we've had these late fall, I think the earliest one I've ever seen was in late November. Usually they take place around the first or second week of December when the river freezes over. This year it's going to be, it looks like it's going to be the second week of January, and we'll probably see it. So when this happens, the most we've ever seen so far that I know of is about 12.5 foot of stage. Okay, but you got to remember, flood stage is 14.5 feet. So it's very disconcerting to people to see it rise that quickly, but it still tends to be about 2, maybe 2.5 feet below what we consider to be flood stage in Bismarck. But that's tantalizingly close. If you're the homeowner, you own personal property down there, et cetera, or if you've got your boat dock sitting up on the shoreline close to the water, obviously this gets your attention very, very quickly.
So at what point do some mitigation factors start coming in where the discussion turns to, okay, we need to blow up an ice dam or get the river moving by breaking up some ice in some fashion? When does that discussion take place?
We have never really seen that outside of the 2009 spring ice jam event. Now, spring ice jams are a little bit different in the sense that the ice tends to be quite a bit thicker. Right now, remember, we're talking about these pans coming down river. They're 3 to 6 inches thick on average. Okay, in the springtime, we can see ice sheets coming down the river that are 3-4 feet thick. Right, so large, heavy, difficult to move chunks of ice. Now, as far as using explosives, that's really not a recommended way to go about dealing with ice jams, simply because ice is very resilient and you need an awful lot of explosives to do much with a sheet of ice.
Yeah, basically you're blowing up the sandbar underneath the ice so that the ice sheet can move a little bit better. Alan, thanks for coming on this morning. Bottom line, ice not that safe. Just because it may look like it, be safe out there. This is Talk of the Town. Be warm. Super Talk 1270.
KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union Studio.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.